Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me on Gfnez. And well, this is round 3, and I'm actually really excited about sharing some of these things today because, well, I did discuss seeing the first episode about my new day one. Usually day one with your child is just, well, the first day they're with you. Well, our day one kind of got reset with by the MMR because that's what started our troubles. But again, this isn't about that. It's about recovery because, there's no such thing as a cure for being hit by a bus, but there is recovery. And so, the episode 1 was about, well, taking that on and, and digesting that and accepting it. And episode 2, we kind of just, I think I talked a little bit about what it takes. And so episode 3 is where things get a little wet, where we really start getting into it. So at this point, my boy is starting to show signs of like real sickness and illness. One of the things that was apparent was every time he'd, have a bowel movement, it would come out looking like wood chips and sand, like wood chips embedded into wet sand, and that's all it looked like. And the smell was beyond bad. And that was looking back, it was a real indicator about his health. But of course, we were concerned also about his whole being, not just the physical part, but there was a lot of flapping. He'd hit the top of his hands, he'd punch his hands really hard. And if you've ever hit your hand on a doorknob, you know that hurts. So there was no way that was cool. And, he had a thing with like hitting his head. Bang, 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 bang. Not cool. So he was doing a lot of those things. And as a parent, that kind of breaks your heart, right? I mean, watching your child hurt themselves. Okay, now it's a new layer. Oh, it's tough. So, what he was really having also was sensory issues. And that was with the flapping, and with the hitting, and the self-injury. It was sensory issues. Genuinely crazy. The boy was bonkers. And I don't blame him. But, one of the more telling things that was a real indicator of how much trouble we were having was when you're not healthy, the body shows it. So at the same time, my middle son had 13 cavities, pretty much like one per tooth, it seemed. His elder son, my eldest son, had no cavities, and they have the same diet. Now, I know not everybody is the same, but they are cut from the same mold. They're only 16 months apart. Yes, anything is possible, but we're getting starkly different results out of one out of the other, and they're made of the same stuff. So, we go to the dentist, and we're like, how come all these cavities? And they're like, well, you need to brush and floss more. It's like, man, if we brushed and flossed more, we wouldn't stop brushing and flossing, and we're doing that. Well, we learned a little something about like what he was going through. What we learned was nutritional deficiency, and it was expressed through his gut and his skin. And we learned by doing and finding out the hard way, I guess. That clearly he was having a problem with his gut because the wood chips and sand. I mean, we're not doctors. And and doctors, it was a good thing I was a union electrician at the time, because this is during the Bush era, before Obama, and my son couldn't get health care because of pre-existing conditions, but because he was part of my group plan, they had no choice. So when I bring him in, they'd look at him like a horse. I understand he has a mouth and a foot and all these body parts, but I don't know what to do with that. That's how they treated him, like a horse. And of course they couldn't deny treatment because of my package deal. They couldn't do that, but they never really did much. Now there were some that tried, but they could only work within the constraints of what their profession allowed them. So I'll get back to this in a moment, but one thing I want to talk about was the indicator of brushing his teeth, right? So we're like, we got 13 cavities, we're not made of money, and the boy is suffering. This is no way that's cool. So how are we going to make it better for him? Well, obviously you got to brush his teeth and floss, and we're going to make sure that this happens like I'm supposed to. And I remember so it took 3 people to brush his teeth. One would be him getting his teeth brushed. The second would be me, all of my human form, pinning my baby child I'm not going to lay down to show you, but he was under me, and I had him completely straddled, so to speak, and all I could do was pin him and brush his little teeth, while his mama would hold his legs down to keep him from kicking me into beans. And so it took 3 people every night to brush his teeth and morning, and that was not cool because he was thrashing, he was clawing, he was doing everything he could to stop this. He was having sensory issues. God knows what he was experiencing. Maybe he was experiencing like knives in his mouth. I don't know, but got to do what I got to do. Got to brush some teeth. So every night was traumatic because it's hard to tackle your child and like manhandle them with man strength. And no, you're not supposed to. This is a peach. You don't bruise this. You gentle. How are you gentle with man strength? Okay, well, I found a way. Got his teeth brushed. And one of the funny things really was I often thought about the impact that on his older brother, because I mean, I have a lot of kids. I got kids, not just one. But so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what's this doing to my eldest? What is he seeing? He's seeing mom and dad mean it. When we tell you to brush and floss, dude, guess what's going to happen? We're going to brush and floss you. You're going to be fine. And do it yourself, or get some help. So he saw that. But there's no way he was like, oh, that's comforting. No, he's probably like, oh, that's scary. And it was scary. And I had to do those scary things. I was scared to do it because it's like how hard. Where restraint and strength all at once. I mean, talk about being a parent. Anyway, so that was hard, and that was every day, and that was every morning. And when we're talking about sensory stuff and flapping, you want to try to put shoes on this guy? Forget it. The moment you got him on, he's kicking them off. Okay, well, young parents trying to get in the car with all your stuff, and now he's like, I don't need those shoes. Nah, boom, 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 and he's of course not happy about it, and he's letting you know. I mean, he had vertigo for a long time. I'd pick him up like a normal child and hold him, and he'd be like clinging. One time I picked him up, and he reached his hand into my face, put his thumb into my eye, reached in behind it, and hooked my thumb, or with his thumb, hooked my eye, started pulling it out. You ain't never felt nothing like that before. Feeling the little muscles on to do your eye stretch. Found that too. And so he put his little hand in there, he's just getting crazy. Let me go, Dad. He was just reaching for anything he could grab and found an eyeball. And the moment I felt that thing being pulled out, I slapped his hand on there, peeled his thumb out from my eye. But I couldn't see for 2 weeks. Electrician has a hard time with life and not going to see. Yeah, that's what I did at the time. I'm a union electrician, a working man. That's my pedigree. So, here we are, beating autism. I'm going to say it again. Autism is in this house. I respect it. I love it, but it's a pain in my ass, and it's not really what was God blessed for him. So when these issues come up, I meet them. But until that happens, you get regular treatment. Yeah, it's not fair. The world ain't fair. I'm stronger because of it. So are you. Okay. Now, here we are, struggling as a family. My eldest son is looking at his baby brother getting creamed daily. My middle son, he's not able to really do much. Can't take him to the park and play with anybody because everybody his size trying to talk to him, and he can't talk. And he just flaps and throws like Kmart or whatever. It's like, how are you going to socialize that? How are you going to make that better? All right, well, you keep going. That's how you make it better. Give me some peach tea. Anyway, it was good. So every day was really, really hard. Every day. And this is when he was about as bonkers and crazy as he was. You couldn't lift him off the ground. You put him into his like chair in the car, like his booster chair in the car seat. We had a nice one at Britax. We bought the Cadillac car seat so he'd be comfortable. Man, yeah, you literally had to body slam him in there, push your arms against his shoulders, and click, 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 click. You had to use your elbows to keep his chest there. I mean, it was a fight to do everything. The only thing he wouldn't fight for was food, fried food. This guy would stop everything for fried food. Now I'm going to tie the fried food into the gut. His gut was very, very unhealthy. Turns out those wood chips and sand were candida. The sand was candida yeast. Y'all can look that up. Candida is toxic. It lives within everybody, but when it overgrows, that means something's wrong in the body. And that's what they did to him. So, I'm watching him poop out candida yeast. But golly, what are the wood chips? Well, I didn't know it at the time, but I did find out. The wood chips were actually his intestines. Every time he had a BM, he'd be pooping out his intestinal walls as well. Okay. That's hard. Really? Because it was funny, but not funny. Because he'd like fart in the morning before school, and we'd come home around 4. Still smell like a fart. That is not a normal fart. That is not cool. So, after years, about 3 years, and at this point he's around 4. He's still in diapers. Because what's coming out of him, I'm a professional pooper myself, and I don't think I'd be able to control that. I don't know if I know it was coming. But at 4 years old, he's in diapers because his gut's a mess. And now his skin's a mess, like lesions and bubbles and whatever's going on. So he's very sick. And mom and dad are heartbroken. And mom and dad are over the moon with heartache. And let's not forget, we have a perfectly healthy son who's doing fine, who needs all the support he can get too. That is the real hook in all of this. Providing the level of love and service that surely you were going to provide. And now you have this tremendous spectrum to work within, which sounds good because the rails are all the way out. But when you're trying to focus, it's really hard to focus when it's a really wide focus. Nice to narrow things up, right? So how do you deliver? I think I talked about this in episode 1. I found a 25th hour. I grew an 8th day. There's a way. Yeah, all that's fantasy. There's none of that is really real. I didn't sleep, and I kept trying. And I won. My family won. All right. I want to tell you about the winning a little bit because these dark times are going to last me. These dark times lasted me 7 years. I spent 7 years in the trenches. I'm not done fighting. 7 years in the trenches, below ground. Below ground. 7 years is a good long time to fight for what you believe in, to fight for what you love for. All right. So now we're in the world of sensory issues. We're in the world of terrible gut health. We're in the world of self-injury. We're in the world of no communication, no friends. And let's talk about that real quick. All my friends fell out because it turns out if it ain't easy, a lot of people don't want to deal with it. And turns out a lot of people ain't built with the heart that it takes to be, incredible. Okay. Well, thankfully, those people excuse themselves from my life. And I understand. This is not a comfortable place. My house used to be fun and jubilant. Now it's stressful. We're trying to do something that we're not, not winning. Right. Not doing well. Okay. All right. Well, these are the pressures. So now all of a sudden social pressure is really happening because I don't have any friends anymore. And the ones that are hanging out, God bless them. I don't have as many friends anymore. And the time that I used to go out or do anything is, I'm my parents. I'm going to come home and be daddy for sure. But now it's like, it's very hard to enjoy it. I was talking to my daughter this morning about one of the things that parents don't do is just fucking enjoy their children. Just enjoy your kids. And that made it hard to enjoy anything for more than like a few minutes because that's about what you would usually get before the next episode or trauma. All right. Well, okay. Still the situation. It still is what it is. And that's still my son. And that's still going to work somehow. All right. But here we are trying to deliver our first little guy to school and our other second little guy is having trouble. Okay, what do we do? Well, thankfully, first little guy is really, really, really smart. I mean, he's 21 years old. He's got himself a degree from college already. Smart guy. dedicated, knows what he's doing. God bless. So they were like, we had him tested or whatever, like preschool, and they're like, this kid's brilliant. Get him in school right away. Or like, this choice. It's like, do you put him in school a year early? He'll be really young. Or do you put him in school late? He'll be a little older. Well, he's really smart and he's not short, so he's going to fit in. He's going to keep up cognitively. And the physical form it's not like a little guy, so he's not going to, feel weird. So we got him into school right away, and that allowed us to focus on the second son and like really put him in, focus. Put him in focus. And at the same time, my eldest son is getting what he deserves. He's getting the education that he's surely ready for. I mean, the kid's already count. We used to have a little game called Math for Money. I pull my money out my pocket at the end of the day, and I said, if you can count it, you can keep it. And he was motivated. He would count it, and that dude cleaned my pockets every day. Cool, perfect, man. He also built up some money, so when he'd go to the store, he'd buy whatever he want. Yeah. Good. I'm a successful parent, by the way. Buy grades. Purchase their grades. Motivate them. Say, I will purchase every A you get, every B you get. C, you can keep them. D's, tutor time. Anyway, there's ways. And that's really what I'm all about. I'm here to share these ways. I'm here to share a lot of what I've been through, a lot of the problems that came. But I'm really, really all about the recovery. I want to meet you at the problems that you're going to have. I want to, so we can commiserate a little bit. Not that misery wants company, but knowing that you ain't the only brother or sister in this thing is like really what it's about. And that's why I'm here, because frankly, I plowed the road that most people don't. In fact, most chicken men leave. I learned 80% of men leave these kinds of situations. Whoo, those aren't men, those are males. Those are not men. Just my opinion. Whatever. Come get me. But, so I'm in it to win it. And, I wanted to use this, take this opportunity today to talk about, like, the self-injury. He'd punch in the top of his hands. He'd punch himself in the head. And there's a lot more coming on that self-injury part. But we're going to start with that because that's what was happening at the time. He'd be cutting himself with his own hands, just whatever. And the only time he would ever be happy is when he's sitting there with a bunch of food, which is fine. He's a big dude. He was always happy with food. So, food, right? But just wanted to let you guys know that this is not over. It's actually just beginning. And I'm going to do my best to format these things to where maybe you could comment, leave a question. I'd be happy to field anything. Most anything. I mean, keep it in context. But I want to share. And I got solutions. I have proof. I have real proof. And it's here at the house. And right now it's at school. But it's here at the house. And I can show it, and I plan on doing so. So if there's anything you'd like me to address, you have some questions, maybe you found some inconsistencies or something I can improve with, please talk to me. I'm genuinely doing this myself. I'm doing this alone, and that's okay, because that's how I can honestly make all my mistakes and not have to worry about it. But thank you very much. I hope I've done something to, justify this 15, 20 minutes of your time. I'll leave you with the idea that when we began to get onto his nutrition is when we beat the candida. Nutrition. Stop eating garbage food. If it comes in a box or a bag, don't eat it. Only eat it if it was fresh. And if this is too hard, and it was very hard for me, I promise there'll be an episode about shopping and how to deal with this. But if it wasn't food 100 years ago, don't eat it. Right? Before the big fat dollar decided they would love to see more dollars by giving you Coca-Cola and then watching you bloat and then giving you medicine to keep you from bloating all the while you're choking yourself out on both ends. So 100 years ago, if it was a fish, it's a fish still. If it's a steak, it's still a steak. If it was a pea or a carrot, still a pea or a carrot. All right? It really began with getting into his blood, nutritionists, things like that. So I'm talking about solutions. And I'm going to be given the path. All right, so thanks for joining me. Please comment. I guess there's a like and subscribe option. But thank you.